Hello guys, so I'll give you a quick recap on the previous sessions like what we have discussed. So we discussed about SAP ERP, what is ERP and what is OLTP and what is OLAP. What is ERP? ERP is a software product which provides better integration, right, between different departments of the organization. Mostly ERP are the products like which are ready to use products like where we can do custom changes or we can do enhancements to the existing product whenever we need a new functionality or additional options to the existing functionality we go for enhancements. So what is OLTP? Online transactional processing system, the system which we use to create the transactions, daily transactions in the business process, right? Example for OLTP systems,
SAP ERP.
SAP ERP, SAP, not SAP, okay? Forget about SAP, it is SAP, okay?
Okay, sir.
Uh, SAP ERP is example for OLTP system because all the business transactions will be created here, right? And another example, if you go to any shopping mall, whatever the billing system they are using, that is an example for OLTP system. If you go to the bank, whatever the system that is using by the cashier, right? So that is example for OLTP system, right? Because they create transactions, right? The purpose of OLTP system is to capture business transactions, right? What is OLAP system? OLAP system. It is for analytical purpose, analysis purpose, to generate the reports, to analyze the business for decision making. What they do here, the top level management will generate the reports to check the to analysis their business, right? The example for OLAP systems, SAP
SAP
BW
BW.
is the one example, and in Microsoft we have MSBI, right? There are many third-party analytical systems available in the market. Okay, so the transactions will be captured in OLTP. So all the transactions we need to move to OLAP system, right? Because the analysis will happen in OLAP system. For the data analysis, what is the input? The transactions which are created in OLTP system are the input. For that reason, we move all the business transactions daily from OLTP systems to OLAP systems, right? How can we move that? Using ETL tools or ETL process. Example for ETL tools, Informatica in SAP, SAP BW itself contains its own ETL tool. There are different data stage, there are many ETL tools. BODS kind of tools are also there, which can transfer transactions or any source system data to target system. Here our target system is a OLAP system. Okay. So why don't we do data analysis on OLAP system itself? First thing, organizations won't keep
Historical data.
historical data in OLTP systems because OLTP systems purpose is to maintain the daily transactions, right? Not for the data analysis because if you are trying to do the data analysis on the OLTP system itself, what will happen? On the one way, business transactions is in progress. The other way, top level management is trying to generate some reports on this millions of records. What will happen? So the system
System
will,
report.
yeah, the system resources will be all will be occupied for data analysis or might be OLTP. So either one of the process may not work properly, right? Here, what is the most important thing? Data analysis or daily transactions?
Daily transactions.
Transactions are important, right? So then data analysis you can do it after some time, but transaction should not stop, right? If there is any issue in a bank server for at least 30 minutes, what will happen in the bank? Like all the customers needs to wait, right?
Yes.
For example, there is a issue in railway ticket booking counter systems, right? There is a huge loss of business, and as well as customers also need to wait, right? So that's why we don't do data analysis in OLTP systems, but we transfer that operational data or historical data daily after closing the business hours from OLTP system to OLAP system for data analysis. Here we do the data analysis on the historical data for decision making to generate the reports. Now, so SAP ERP is the example for OLTP system. And what is ABAP? ABAP is a programming which we use in SAP to create the custom applications or to enhance the standard applications. Okay. So in SAP ERP we have different versions. So the current version is SAP S4 HANA 2022, right? Prior to SAP S4 HANA we have SAP ECC, that's called SAP ERP Central Component. So what is the difference between both? SAP
SAP is data independent.
SAP ECC is database
Database
independent.
is
Dependent.
independent.
It can work on any database. But SAP S4 HANA is
It works on only HANA
only
database.
HANA,
Hello.
SAP's own database, that is SAP HANA. Is it advantage or disadvantage?
It's, ECC is advantage. Like it can
No,
work on.
no, that's not advantage here. Even though there is a flexibility of choosing database, the performance of the applications, right, are not good when you compare with the SAP S4 HANA applications. So when they introduced HANA, what is the HANA database? What is the specialty of HANA database? HANA is a in-memory database. HANA is a in-memory database which can store data in RAM level, right? Every one of you know the RAM, right? So HANA is going to store the data in RAM level, and along with that, it will have the backup in the hard disk. So when we need to access the data will come from RAM level. Accessing data from RAM level is very faster than accessing data from
Database.
database. Okay, and all the SAP S4 HANA programs are simplified to compatible with the HANA database. That's why these applications execute very faster than previous version SAP ECC applications, because the data is coming from the RAM level, right? And all the programs are simplified. And here in SAP ECC, even though it is database independent, it needs to access the database. It needs to connect with the database to retrieve the data every time. Okay. And as part of SAP S4 HANA, many new features are introduced. Okay. So whoever not interested to migrate to SAP S4 HANA, they are still using SAP ECC. Okay. So you can observe SAP ECC servers in support projects, mostly in support projects. No implementations on ECC because SAP SAP company is not supporting SAP ECC. Okay. So every company will have some warranty period or maybe supporting period for any product. After few years, right, they won't support that application. Maybe after 10 years, maybe after 20 years, They're not going to support that application. They'll release the new version and ask the customers to migrate to that new version. Okay, clear? So now in most
Yes,
of the
sir.
implementation projects, they're going to implement SAP S/4HANA 2022 version. If there is any new version released, is it implementation or upgrade?
Upgrade.
Upgrade.
Upgrade. It's a upgrade. So let's say one customer is already one organization is already using SAP ECC, and now they want to go with SAP S/4HANA. Is it a upgrade or implementation?
Implementation.
It's a migration project. SAP S/4HANA migration project. They are migrating from ECC to S/4HANA. Okay, we call that as migration projects. So most of the programs maybe 70% of the code and programs and everything might be same, but there are few changes which they need to apply because SAP S/4HANA programs are simplified and changed according to the HANA database, right? Uh, those additional changes we need to do when we go for migration, SAP S/4HANA migration. And we have different functional modules in SAP which deals with the specific business process. For example, SD, sales and distribution, it deals with the sales and sales activities and related functionalities. And material management, it is related to purchasing, FICO, finance and controlling, plant maintenance, HR and HCM, we call it as HCM, human capital management. There are different modules. So as a ABAP developer, do you need to worry about all these modules? Do you need to learn all these modules? No. So every module, like one functional consultant, well, usually in the project, there will be a functional consultant on all these different modules. Okay, they will provide you the input. As a ABAP developer, what is your role? You need to get the inputs from functional consultant and develop the ABAP applications as per those inputs. Okay. What is master data and transaction data? What is master data?
Master data
Which
is
changes
which changes
rarely.
rarely.
Master data is the data which changes very rarely. Example for master data, your
Personal address.
Customer name.
customer account details, right? So customer name, sorry, bank account number, customer name, customer address, email ID, phone number. These are the examples for master data, customer master data. Okay. Similarly, we have different types of master data like vendor master data, right? Vendor means supplier who will supply some raw material to the organization.
ఏంటి వెళ్ళు
Please wait. Okay. Uh, like vendor ID, vendor name, vendor address, vendor email ID. These are all the vendor master data. Okay. Like material master data. So what is the material? Material number, material name, right? Material dimensions, storage conditions, right? These are all the material master data. So before creating any transaction, what is required? Master data is required to create any transactions. With the master data reference only, we are going to create the transactions. Okay. Just like how we create transactions in the bank using your account number. Without the account number, you can't do any transactions, right? That is the reference for your transaction. Clear? Come back to ETL. So we are we were talking about ETL process, right? We move operational data to OLAP system daily. So first, which data we need to move? Master data or
Master
transactional
data.
data? First we need to
Ma-
do, first we
Master
need to
data.
move master data, whatever the
Master
master data created in OLTP. Like for example, let's say in the bank, 1,000 customers opened bank accounts, newly opened bank accounts, right? So for those customers, master data will be created, right, in OLTP. So first we need to move those master data records to OLAP system. Once the master data records are completed, then only we move their corresponding transactions. Okay, that is common in any ETL process in any system. Okay, first we need to handle master data and then go with the transactional data because master data is the key for every transaction. And we discussed about SAP R3 architecture. So what is the architecture of SAP? SAP ERP. It contains three layers. One is presentation layer. Presentation layer is nothing but GUI. So where users, end users can access the system. Okay. Can you tell me some general presentation layers or GUIs which we use in our daily life?
email account.
Yeah, your Gmail, whatever the
Mm,
mobile app in your phone, right? Gmail app, that is a GUI present, or we can also call presentation layer because programs or database, nothing will be there in that in our system, right? We just install one screen where we can send the instructions or and receive the output in the form of data, right? So SAP also contains a GUI or presentation layer from where users can access the SAP system. And
sir,
we have,
WhatsApp.
yeah, you can consider WhatsApp is also a presentation layer, right? Because the data logic or database, nothing in your phone, right? It's just application with some screen navigations. That's also a
Yes, sir.
presentation layer, right? Whenever you click on send, that request goes to the application layer. That specific program executes in application layer, and it connects with the database to store your message in the database, right?
Yes, sir.
When you delete something in the presentation layer, it will send the request to delete that message. One program designed that is using to delete the messages that will trigger, and that will connect with the database, and your message will be deleted from the corresponding database table. Okay, that's how it works. Anything, right? So we have three layers: presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. In application layer, there will be application programs which will execute as per the user requests from the presentation layer. And database layer, what does the database layer contains?
Tables.
Data will be stored
Data.
permanently in the database in the form of tables.
Tables.
Okay, so to access data from presentation layer, user needs to send a request, and application program needs to execute, and it needs to retrieve the data from database tables and present it to the user. Request and response process. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And about ABAP, ABAP is a fourth generation programming language. There are different generations of languages, right? So ABAP is a fourth generation programming language, and it is close to the human statements, whatever the statements we use in our daily life, right? And I've provided you the details of generations of languages, programming languages. So first generation programming language, it is a machine language, right? Maybe it developed when the computer is invented, right? So it contains just zeros and ones. We call this as a machine language or binary language. it is very difficult to learn and it is very difficult to understand, right? First generation programming languages. So this is the actual language that is understandable to the system even now. Okay, your laptops or computers, they just know the binary language. Second generation language, that is assembly language, that is slightly better than mission language. Here we can use set of statements to execute the functionality, right? Here what is required to execute the second generation languages? Assembler. Assembler is required, and this assembler will convert this assembly language instructions into mission language. Okay, this is also a low level language. Both first generation and second generation languages are low level languages because they are very difficult to understand, very difficult to learn, right? So where these languages will be used, like mostly in hardware companies, right? Who design the hardwares, they use this still use this second generation languages or first generation language to design those hardwares because that hardware can understand only mission language, and mission language is faster because there is no translation required, right? And what about third generation? Third generation languages are close to the human readable statements. So example are C, COBOL, and even C++, Java, you can consider all of them. And as third generation programming languages. For third generation programming languages, what is required?
Compiler and
Compiler and
interpreter.
interpreter. Since we write statements in close to the human language, systems cannot understand, right? System can understand only mission language, binary language. For that purpose, we use compilers and interpreters to convert this generation language statements into mission language.
Binary language.
Yeah. So what is the difference? Compiler and interpreter. Compiler needs to
Execute the code
compiler. Oh,
at a time.
yeah, at a time. First, once we need to complete the program and we need to compile it, right? It will compile the entire source code at once. Okay. But what about the interpreter? Interpreter, you don't need to wait for the complete code. It will
Execute
convert
the line by
line by
line.
line, right? Each syntax line by line. That's why, like when you are writing C, you may not be able to see the errors when writing the code. Once you complete the code, and when you click on compile, it will show you the errors, right? Whatever the errors available, because compiler will execute all your program at once. Whoever working on some Python or something, you can see errors on the same line. If you implement any incorrect syntax, it will show you the error immediately on the same line. You don't need to wait for complete program, right? Because it uses interpreter. Okay. And about fourth generation languages, ABAP is a fourth generation language. These are close to the human language statements. You can take ABAP and Python as examples, SQL. Here we use statements close to the human language, right? So can you please mute? So ABAP is a fourth generation programming language. Here we use statements close to the human language. And what about fifth generation programming language? Here you don't need to write any code in this fourth generation programming, fifth generation programming, right? So there are auto program generating will happen using some drag and drop options, right? Using some instructions, the system itself generate the programs. Mostly artificial intelligence programs or any automatically, here the code will be generated automatically. Okay. That's about the generations of the programming, and we are going to learn ABAP 4. It's a fourth generation programming language. And yesterday we have seen the system introduction, how to log in SAP server and how to access SAP. We'll see a few keywords which we use in SAP. Data, parameters, constants, write, move, read. Observe all these keywords. Are you familiar with these keywords or not?
Yes, sir.
Forget about programming. Do you know these words or not? Read, sort, update,
Ah, yes, sir.
data,
Yeah,
constant.
yeah,
Everyone know these words, right?
yes, we are
So
familiar.
same kind of statements we use in ABAP. Okay, it is easy to understand, easy to remember. All the syntaxes will be like this only. Okay, each keyword mentioned here is for a specific purpose, specific functionality. So you can easily guess this one: insert, update, modify, delete. Insert is to insert a new record into database. Update is to change the existing record of the database. Delete is to delete the data from the database, right? Select. Select is to select the data from database tables. Okay. Don't worry, I'll explain in detail about each option when we are working on the system. Observe the data types. Please observe the data types. We have different data types in ABAP. These data types are common in any application, right? So depends on the data type, we are going to design the applications. What type of data we need to handle depends on that we define that programming, right? Now I'll give you some examples. Employee name. What type of data it is? Is it a character data or numeric data?
Character data.
Employee name is a
Character
character data. What
character
is character data? What is character data? Character type data. So character type data can accept anything, including letters, numbers, special characters. It can accept, right? When we take that as a character type data, it should accept any value like letters, numbers, and special characters. For employee names, address, right? City names, these kind of values. What type of data type we use? Character. And this is the length. Depends on the value we are going to define the length. But if you don't define any length, there is an initial length, that is 1. It can accept one letter like this. If you don't define any value, it can accept one letter or one number like this. That is length 1, because that is length 1. Okay, any value between which contains only one character, single character, if you don't define any length for the character data type, right? When you are handling names, any type of character data, you need to define using a character data type. Number. Observe the number data type. So when we use number data types, when we need to handle numeric data like phone number, postal code, right? These kind of values, what type of data type we use?
Data.
Number data type. Number data type. Can we use it for amount like currency?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Currency contains decimal places, right? For example, 100 rupees 50 paisa. We need to handle that also, right? But numbers cannot handle that. Numbers cannot handle decimal places. Okay, number data type is not suitable to handle this amount or quantity, these kind of values. Okay, so numbers we use for example for number data types are phone number, postal code, right? So these kind of values, for these kind of values we use a number data type because it cannot handle decimal places. Okay,
Sir, sir, initial one means
That's what I explained you for character type, right? If you don't provide any length, right? What is the length for mobile number?
10.
10, right? So whenever you are creating one object to store the mobile number, you need to provide a type number and a length. How much? 10.
10.
If you don't provide any length, right? By default, it can accept only one number like this, one number, any number like this. Okay?
Okay, sir. So 65535.
Max length, maximum length,
Okay, sir.
right? So you need to make sure we cannot pass character data to number type. You cannot store character type data or letters or special characters in the number type. Even if you pass something, it will ignore. It won't take it. It will accept only numbers. Okay? Clear? Next, date to data type. What is the use of date? Date to data type. Whenever we need to handle date values, right? Date values. We use what data type? Date type D, right? So what is the length of date data type? IP means input length, internal length, internal length 8. Internal length is 8. What is output length? Output length is 10.
10.
Please observe the difference. So this is the internal length. This is the internal value.
Yes, internal value means we are not adding any decimals.
Yeah, any
So that's
separators, not decimals. For date, we don't
sorry,
use decimals. We don't add any separator for internal value.
separators.
So this is the SAP's internal date format. Please remember everyone, it is very important. This is the SAP internal date format. Year, month and day without separators. Whenever you are whenever you need to pass the date value in ABAP programs, which format you need to pass? This format,
Out-
internal format.
Output.
No,
Internal.
not output, internal format. Year, month, day without separators. That is the SAP's internal date format. If you go to any organization, open any SAP system, they should follow same date format. This is the universal SAP date format, right? Year, month and day. That length is 8. Year 4, month plus 2 6, day plus 2 8. Okay? Output. When you are displaying the output, how it will be displayed? With separators. When you are displaying the output, it will be displayed with separators. This length is 10 because it contains the separators. Okay? But when you need to handle it in the program, you should not consider the output format. You should always pass internal format. Okay? When it is displaying in the output, it will automatically display in this format, external format, output format. Okay? Clear? Example for a date. For example, transaction date, deposit date, withdrawal date, right? Next one, time, type T. What is the use of this? To handle the time values, right? To handle the time in your programs, we need to use data type T. What is the length of the time? Input length is 6, output length is 8. So this is the SAP's internal time format. Hours, minutes and seconds. Hours, minutes and seconds without separator. We should not use separator when we are using it in the programs. Okay, that is internal time format. What is the external format? Output format, that is 8 with the separator. Time value with separator. Hours, minutes and seconds. Okay, clear? Is everyone clear on these four data types?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now observe the string data type. Observe the values. Is it similar to any other database? These values.
Character.
Character
It is
data.
similar to character data type, right? So what is the use of string then? String
Sir,
is for, sorry?
here no length is given, sir.
No length is given. It's a variable length. So depends on the data, it will automatically expand. For huge text, huge data, right? For example, uh, whenever you are filling some form, right, you might observe some section called comments.
Yes, sir.
So those kind of values we use strings, string data types, right? For character, when you are using character data type, you can define the length. You can uh, keep specific length for that value. For example, in your application, you can see your name, right? Can you enter any number of characters in that name area?
No,
There
sir.
is some maximum length, right? There is some maximum length provided. Within that length only you can enter. Here also, so we can define that maximum length of that value using character data types. When we cannot do that, when that particular value is not supporting that, we don't know what is the maximum length of the value, we go for string. Okay, but why first preference is character? If you know the length, you should go with the character and define the length, because every time you define something in the memory, it will occupy some space. For example, if you define character length 40, it will occupy some bytes in the memory. Defining nothing but we are creating a space for that value in the memory. Please remember, right? So if you unnecessarily use a string data type, what will happen? It will occupy more
More
memory
space.
unnecessarily, right? That's why we need to do some analysis before going to using data type. What type of data it is, right? What is the suitable data type? Clear? And integer type I. So integer data type accepts numbers, numerical values. Number will also accept numerical values, right? What is the difference? Number cannot handle negative values. Minus 10, minus 100. Negative value, right? This is number data type cannot handle that. But integer can handle that. Negative values. Okay? When we use integers, integer data types, for example, count, the count of some products. These kind of values we use a integer data type. The count of people in a village, the count of people in the country, right? The count of number of records. These kind of values we use a integer data types. Okay, clear? It can accept negative values also.
Sir, initial to 4 means
Ah, initial also for you don't need to define any length for this. It will accept a value up to like this. Okay, you don't need to define any length for this. So if you go for int 4, it can accept a value like this. If you go for int 8, it will accept 8 numbers like this. Okay, Depends on the value, right? You need to take int 4 or int 8. You don't need to define any length. Okay. Next come to packed decimal. Floating point will use for scientific values. We'll discuss that later. So just concentrate on packed decimal. So packed decimal is also for number type formats. It won't accept character type data. It is for values, amount, quantity. These kind of values we use type P, packed decimal, because it can accept integers, decimal values, right? For example, the price of the product. To maintain the price of the product, what type of data, what data type we need to use? Number, integer, or floating point? P, packed decimal. Sorry, not floating point. To maintain the price of a product, which data type is suitable? Number, integer, or packed decimal?
Packed decimal.
Packed decimal, right? Because integer cannot accept decimal places, and number cannot accept negative values, and decimal places too. So packed decimal will can handle decimal places also, because in the business, right, even decimal places also very important, right? We cannot ignore that decimal places. So here you can define the length, that value, and decimal places. What is the length and what is the decimal places? For example, length 5, decimals 3. If you define like this, it can accept a value up to 5, 5 digits. It can accept value up to 5 digits like this, up to 5 digits, and 2 decimal places like this, 50. It can accept value up to these values. If you define length 5 and decimal places 2. Similarly, you can define up to 16 digits, right? And 8 decimal places. So the initial length is 8. So for amount, quantity, for these kind of values where you need to handle the decimal values, what type of data type we need to use?
Packed decimal.
Packed decimal. We need to use packed decimal. Okay. Is everyone clear on these data types?
Yes, sir.
Character, number, date, time, string, integer, packed decimal. Any questions?
No, sir.
So depends on the
Sir,
data.
sir, at integer,
Yeah.
there is no negative minus mark at integer.
You can add it. Okay. You can also accept negative values and positive values. When we are creating the programs, I will clearly show the difference. Okay, by using different data types. So it can accept negative numbers also. Okay. Okay, I'll stop for today because we joined late, and we'll continue in the next session.